Now, we're looking at the idea of creating safety around joint locks. We just looked at the idea of camaraderie and control, and how the use of a 3-second rule can make for a much safer training environment when things are a little too competitive in a training room. Now let's look at the notion of tapping itself. This might seem like an odd topic. Tapping is the one thing that truly makes jiu-jitsu possible. You imagine the sport being practiced without tapping. I mean, you'd be going to sleep literally every class. You have all your limbs would be impossibly broken. Your career would be over in 3 months. The one thing that truly makes jiu-jitsu possible is tapping, submission. If we didn't have that as an institution, the entire sport couldn't exist. It'd be far too dangerous. And yet no one ever teaches you how to tap. No one ever has that conversation with you about what's the right way to do it, or what are the ways to make it really work well for you. So let's have that conversation right now. Okay, first let's understand there's 3 ways to tap. Okay, so we'll start in an armbar situation. Obviously the first one, and the one most commonly seen in the sport of jiu-jitsu, is tapping with your hand. Okay, and you've got 2 choices. You can tap the mat with your hand. You can tap your opponent's body with the hand. We generally recommend, if you have a choice between the 2, tap the body. Why? Because it's more urgent on your training partner. Okay, don't tap once. Don't do this. Okay, because sometimes that can just be, it sends a mixed signal to your training partners. So that might be, for example, you'll see something like this. Okay, let's say the hands aren't locked. Okay, and Giancarlo reaches to grab a hold of his own hand, but the hand is moving. He misses and slaps his opponent's thigh. Okay, so let's see what that might look like. Go. Okay, it looks, was that a tap, or did he just miss the hand? And it's ambiguous, right? So this guy keeps applying pressure, and his arm gets hurt because he wasn't sure what was happening. Take the ambiguity out of it. That's how you tap. Okay, so make it decisive. At least 2 taps, 3 if necessary. Okay, so when the arm comes on, good, and it's done. Okay, don't make for ambiguous taps where you just slap someone's body once. Do it twice. Okay, if you have a choice between tapping the body versus the mat, choose the body. Okay, because it registers more quickly in your training partner's mind than just tapping the mat does. Okay, now there's going to be times your hands are locked up in weird positions. Say, for example, like a triangle, hands locked, hands locked. So your hands are all tied up in here, okay? And it's you can't tap with your fingers, okay? That's just unambiguous. In this situation, learn to tap with your legs. Take one of your feet, pick it up, and bang, bang on the mat, okay? Make sure he understands this. Build a gym culture where everyone understands don't just have the ability to tap with your hands, you also have the ability to tap with your feet, okay? There's crazy situations where you're in a triangle, you're being strangled, so you can't verbally tap. Both of your hands are tight. There's so many variables in jiu-jitsu. There's always that day you can't do it verbally and you can't do it with your hands. You got to tap with your feet. Okay. Make sure that both athletes recognize this. So if he's completely tied up and he taps with his feet, he should know that signifies a tap. Okay. Because if he doesn't recognize it and this goes back hard with the arm, this guy's tapping with his feet, and he just keeps that's a disaster. Okay. So make sure that the training room culture, everyone understands you can tap with your feet as well as your hands. Okay. Now the third category of tapping is, in my opinion, the most effective. This is verbal tapping. Okay. Make sure you build a gym culture where everyone can say the word tap. Okay. As a general rule, verbal taps register more quickly in your training partner than physical taps do. Okay, to actually tap someone takes a certain amount of time. Okay, and it has to be performed and it has to register in him. Verbal taps, on the other hand, are almost instantaneous in their effect. There's no ambiguity. Just set, and make sure everyone knows to use the word tap. Don't have like 5 different words or using like ow. Like, that's not gonna work. Come on, just say the word tap. And these are particularly good in high pressure situations where you feel like, man, it's getting very close now. Just use verbal taps, okay? So build a gym culture where you have 3 modes of tapping. Hands, this goes in 2 ways, to the floor or to the body, as a general rule, prefer the body. It's the better option of the two. Okay? It registers more strongly with your training partner. Second, your feet. You can tap the mat with your feet. It's a good backup method when your hands are preoccupied and for whatever reason you've got a foot across your mouth or whatever, you can't do it verbally. And then third, the most strong form of tap, you don't always have to use it, but in emergency situations where you need to get the message across quickly, it's the best one, verbal taps. Have one word for it, don't make it ambiguous, make sure everyone knows what it is, just scream tap, okay, and that will stop things very quickly. Now, we're going to look at a specialized use of verbal taps, which is very important for all of you. We'll demonstrate it first from an armbar situation. Okay, I'm sure all of you have been in this kind of scenario. Your opponent is doing a really good job of putting pressure on your arms. Okay, you're doing a good job of resisting to the last, and you can feel increasing tension, and your hands are starting to slip. There's a lot of body weight moving backwards, and you feel that it's like almost there, and it's winding up like a spring. At this point, if your hands come undone, bam, there's a good chance you're going to go into hyperextension too quickly for a tap to have an effect. This is when you should be using verbal taps. Okay, this is exactly the time that they're at their best. Because you can hold on here. At this point, don't wait for the inevitable, where the arm just gets extended so quickly you get hurt. Okay, just say right here, tap, and that way no one gets hurt. You can use this a lot to avoid unnecessary problems. Now let's look at it with a heel hook. Inside heel hook situation, we'll take the heel from 50-50. Okay, here's a common scenario. 50-50 enables a lot of hand fighting. So he locks up, Giancarlo comes forward and starts fighting the hands. Now, as Nick Ortiz goes in the lock up, from here he locks up pressure, good, and starts going into the lock. The hips are driving forward. Now Giancarlo's defending, he's holding off with the hands, but there's more and more pressure coming on, and you feel to yourself, dude, if my hands slip, my knee's gonna break. Okay, why wait for that to happen? You're just courting injury at this point. Just verbally tap before your fingers are slipping. You can feel the pressure, tap. Use the verbal tap. Why? I'll go back in. If Giancarlo released his hands now to tap, that's when he gets broken. Do you see? Okay. In order to tap, you have to physically let go. So you can do that. But the action of letting go, there's so much tension in the knee tendon now that letting go would be a freaking disaster and you get hurt. Okay, so why? Don't let go. Keep your hands in place and tap verbally. Tap. And that way you'll avoid all the problems. Okay? We often make use of this method of tapping. This is a kind of a verbal tap. When there's tremendous pressure, you're holding desperately, and you feel if your hands came off to tap, in that short time frame, you would get injured. That's precisely the time you should be using verbal taps. Okay? So, what are we suggesting here? Tapping is the one institution that makes all of jiu-jitsu possible. Without it, the entire sport physically couldn't be practiced. We'd all be strangled unconscious so many times and our joints so badly beat up we'd have to quit after just a few months. Practice it like any other skill. It's a simple skill, but you got to know what you're doing. It's a simple one, but until it's explained to you, there's still a danger of overly aggressive applications of submissions causing problems. Make sure that you and the people around you understand that there are 3 ways to tap, and that if you know how to use all 3, you bring down the injury rate appreciably. You got to be able to tap with your hands. Okay, the best, you have 2 alternatives: tapping the mat, or even better, tapping the body. If you have a choice, tap the body. It registers more quickly. Secondly, there's going to be situations, it's going to happen one day, where you can't tap with your hands, and for whatever reason you can't do it verbally, there's a foot across your mouth or something crazy like that. Make sure everyone understands you can tap with your feet as well. It's a good backup plan for emergencies. Understand that verbal taps are the fastest registering method of tapping. They are particularly useful in high-stress situations where you're defending a move and then you feel like, man, if I let go to tap, there's so much tension in my arm or leg at this point that I'm going to get injured in the time it takes me to tap. Use the verbal tap then. Okay, that's one of the best ways for you to prevent unnecessary injuries from the various